Good afternoon, Bermuda. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. We have with us today the National Disaster Team member, Mr. Dean Roubain, and from the Bermuda Weather Service, Ms. Michelle Pitcher. As you will be aware, we convened an Emergency Measures Organization meeting earlier today to get the latest updates on Hurricane Fiona. I will now turn it over to Ms. Pitcher to provide an update on Hurricane Fiona. Michelle?
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon, everyone. As of the 12-minute advisory, Category 4, Hurricane Fiona was approximately 357 nautical miles to the southwest of Bermuda. The closest point of approach to Bermuda is still forecast to be about 100 nautical miles to the west-northwest at 5 a.m. Friday. Please note, however, that Fiona is expected to weaken to a Category 3 hurricane within the next 12 hours or so. However, this does not do much change to our forecast. Bermuda is still under a hurricane warning. The strongest winds are still expected to be in the western marine area and possibly in the westernmost extent of the island. These winds will be especially evident during the closest point of approach, again, which is 5 a.m. on Friday. We are also going to see a strong wave and surge impact to Bermuda, with the seas outside the reef still forecast to reach 45 feet as Fiona passes, and we expect a 3-foot storm surge. High tide is a couple hours at 7:30 past the closest point of approach, so we must also be aware that high tide can compound the effects of the storm surge. Please note people in low-lying areas that are prone to flooding may experience flooding due to this. We expect tropical storm force winds to begin later this evening on island, and they're going to continue through most of Friday morning. Strong tropical storm force winds, 50 knots and more, are expected to be around early Friday morning, in the wee hours of Friday morning just after midnight in the marine area, and they'll soon be on the island an hour or two later. These strong tropical storm force winds will be remaining into the early part of Friday morning. And finally, hurricane force winds are expected to be in the western marine area through northwestern marine area as Fiona passes, starting a few hours before the closest point of approach at 5 a.m. and likely lasting a couple hours later. Around the closest point of approach, we could briefly see the strongest hurricane force winds on the western extent of the island, and they also could be present in any squalls, heavier showers, and thunderstorms. Please stay safe, Bermuda. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Bermuda, based on this latest update, I want to share some additional information regarding public and emergency services as we prepare for Hurricane Fiona. I will also provide some critical information regarding the cleanup and assessment activities following the passage of the storm. As you heard from the Bermuda Weather Service, Bermuda can expect to experience at least 12 hours or more of tropical storm force winds from late Thursday night through to Friday midday. And the island can expect to experience 5 to 6 hours of 50+ knot winds in the early hours of Friday morning during the peak of the storm. However, you should be prepared for hurricane force winds in the early hours of tomorrow morning. At this stage, you should also be in final preparations for the hurricane. Additionally, dangerous surf and swells are already developing. So we want residents to please take this storm seriously. In that regard, I am urging residents, motorists, and commuters to please be off the roads by 10 p.m. tonight. However, if you are an emergency service provider or critical personnel and are required to be on duty during the storm, then we support you cautiously moving about the island to provide these services. As indicated, our emergency personnel, including the Regiment, Bermuda Fire Service, Police, Belco Parks Department, Works and Engineering, and members from the Bermuda Hospitals Board will be mobilized and positioned to provide the most effective response during and after the storm. As it relates to public services, at this stage, here's what I can advise. Government offices will be closed tomorrow on Friday, September 23rd. Government offices will be reopened on Monday, September the 26th. The causeway remains open, but continues to be very closely monitored by the Ministry of Public Works. Whilst it is not anticipated that it will be closed based on the current forecast, should conditions change and require it to be closed, we will give as much advance notice as possible in the circumstances. The Liam Fogo Urgent Care Center in the East End will be open as of 6 p.m. this evening, right through until midday Friday at the earliest. The government shelter at Cedar Bridge Academy will be operational as of 5 p.m. tonight for anyone who is in need. I want to note that there will be COVID testing upon arrival at the shelter. As we shared yesterday, all public schools will be closed tomorrow, Friday, September 23rd. Public schools will resume normal class sessions on Monday, September the 26th. As it relates to public transportation, there is no change. The last bus will be 9 p.m. tonight, and the service will stand on at 10 p.m. Resumption of the bus service will be dependent on the roads being given the all clear on Friday afternoon. Ferry service will be suspended as of 4 p.m. today. Regarding the airport, all regularly scheduled flights are operating as per normal today, with the exception of the added Air Canada flight to Toronto and the adjusted early arrival and departure times for British Airways services to and from London. Passengers are urged to follow up directly with their respective airlines. The Parks Department have posted high surf warning signs along our public beaches and parks. Keep out of the water. Please don't put your lives at risk and the lives of our lifeguards and emergency responders at risk. Regarding trash collection, I am reminding residents not to put their garbage out tomorrow, Friday, September 23rd. As a reminder, because of Monday's holiday, this week's waste collection was rolled over by 1 day. Only garbage that is normally collected on Wednesday should be out today. Any garbage or recycling that is not collected today should be removed from its curbside location and secured on private property until after the passing of Hurricane Fiona. And garbage that is normally collected on Thursdays and Fridays should be placed outside for collection on Saturday morning. Also, if persons wish to dump their trash, Marsh Folly Composting Facility is open until 4 p.m. today. The Airport Waste Management Facility is open until 4 p.m. today. Tynes Bay Public Drop-Off is open until 7 p.m. today. And a message about safety. The hospital is already seeing individuals coming into the emergency room with injuries due to storm preparation. So please be careful as you trim trees and secure your homes and during cleanup. Do not operate a chainsaw unless you have proper protective gear and are proficient in its safe use. Lastly, the Ministry of Health advises that Bermuda's COVID hotline is 444-2498. That's 444-2498, and that will be operational. Finally, I just want to share a quick note about activity and movement post-Hurricane Fiona. I know people will be anxious to move about once the storm has passed, but I am urging members of the public to please stay indoors following the passage of the storm. Please allow our EMO utilities crews to do the necessary work and assessments to ensure that our roads are safe for passage. So please, Bermuda, no driving around, no venturing out to take pictures, no reckless behavior. This is for our safety. We will provide regular updates as they become available via the 100.1 FM emergency broadcast station, via the government's social media platforms, and via the Bermuda Weather Services mediums. My final message to you is to please stay safe. Please make sure that you have finalized your preparations, and make sure that you check on your families, loved ones, and neighbors to ensure that they all have what they need. I will see you on the other side. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Weeks. Thank you for that fulsome update regarding Hurricane Fiona. I'd like to invite members of the media to field their questions. We'll start with Trevor Lindsay from TNN. Mr. Lindsay?
Thank you. Minister, we used to consider it prudent to close the causeway, being this storm is coming during the darkened hours going into early tomorrow morning, so we don't have a repeat of Fabian years ago, that incident?
Well, the
Out of abundance of caution.
Well, we have considered that, and we have talked about it in depth in the EMO, and we have decided that the causeway will be monitored very closely, and if it's deemed that it has to be closed at short notice, we will do so and alert the public as need be.
Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Owen from the Royal Gazette. Owen, would you like to field your questions?
Sure. It has been a while since Bermuda's been terribly hard hit by a storm. We have been quite lucky in the last few years. Is there a concern that Bermudans become complacent and will be taking this more lightly than perhaps they should?
We have been reminding the public all week about the possible severity of this storm. And as much as some complain, from what I see, everyone is preparing for this storm, and we just hope that everybody remains safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, members of the media, for joining us this afternoon. That concludes today's press briefing. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Michelle. And thank you for your presentations today. That concludes our press briefing. Please continue to stay safe, Bermuda.